All right, guys, we are going into 2024 and I am looking at making changes in my portfolio, and I'm going to share one of my top picks with you for 2024, a stock that I've been actively buying, and I'm going to break down the technicals for you. And I saw a very interesting news article that came out in the last couple of days, and it was actually on Barron's top 10 stock picks for 2024. And I thought, let me check this thing out because these guys have a pretty good track record. It's so good that last year, their top 10 picks for 2023 outperformed the S&P 500 by 6.5%. That's not bad at all. And so when I popped open their article, the very first pick that they gave was Alibaba. And that was confirmation for me that I have been making a good pick myself, because Alibaba is the breakdown stock I'm going to give you guys today. And I think as we get closer and closer into 2024, I want you guys to set some eyes on this stock, because we're seeing confluence of analysts saying that this is one that may be worth adding to your portfolio in the days ahead. I'm going to break down some of the news stories. I'm going to break down some of the technicals. I'm going to give you guys some buy points and some scenarios where we're going to look at the bearish and bullish case for the stock overall. We need to trade the trend. And so we're going to ask ourselves today, when we look at the chart, what is the trend telling us? And if we want to stick to our disciplines about trading the trend, how could we do that and potentially be an early investor in Alibaba? I think you guys are going to enjoy this. Let me just start off real quick before I get any further. This is the Stocks with Josh show. Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you for taking a minute and watching my show. Thank you for all of the comments and the likes that I've gotten in 2023. It's been a great year. I appreciate each and every one of you. Take a quick moment and say hi in the comments for me. I wish you guys all a Merry, Merry Christmas. All right. We're going to start off and just talk about Alibaba, big picture view. This perhaps is one of the cheapest big tech stocks in the world. It did not participate in the big tech rally of 2023. All it did was slowly bleed off all throughout the year, bringing us to the end of the year when we found the stock under $70 back at 2014 prices. It's like the market got into a time machine and brought us back in time where we could buy it so cheap. So this is back at 2014 prices. This is actually the price that the stock premiered when it made its initial public offering, which is incredible. Now, according to ChartMail, which keeps track of the fundamentals of the company, right now, Baba's enterprise value to EBITDA, the ratio, makes it currently cheaper than 94% of its peers. In addition to that, Baba has a better ROE, which stands for return on equity. It's how they spend their money. How good of a return are they getting for the choices they made? Well, they're doing it better than 65% of their peers. And yet the stock is beat down at 2014 prices. Something is wrong. And so the big question is going to be, why in the world are the bears controlling Baba? And I've talked about this before. Two big reasons, and it's really super simple. The first reason is China-U.S. relations are constantly under strain. I'm going to dive into how it got that way and how it might be turning in the days ahead by some recent news articles in a moment. But the second big reason is that China themselves has not been pro-business. They've been unfriendly to big tech. But like I said, the story or the narrative is changing because President Xi is in some trouble with his economy slowing down to a snail's pace. It affects everybody's way of life, and now he's going to have to do some quantitative easing and some regulatory easing, and he has been. And so these are pointing to a potential turnaround story in Alibaba. But let's just start off with this news story. U.S.-China militaries start talking again after a dangerous rupture. What rupture are we talking about? Well, there has actually been some trouble in the seas between some military activities, but in particular, the rupture that really caused the breakdown in communication was when Nancy Pelosi decided to take an impromptu trip to Taiwan on a battleship back in 2022. Very controversial. I talked about it at the time, and ever since then, the two U.S. and China military have refused to communicate. They've not been talking. But according to this recent news story, they're back talking again, which is extremely important and very healthy for every aspect of our nations to be communicating. Now, the other big news story I want to point out to you guys is that China identifies more projects for their 140 billion spending plan. And here's what I'm telling you is that they're doing quantitative easing. And other articles I've shared with you in the past, they are intending to put as much as $1 trillion back into the economy to begin to stimulate things. How did things get so bad in the economy? Well, we know that they had very and perhaps excessive COVID lockdowns, causing everything and everybody to kind of come to a standstill in the country. And now they're attempting to get the engines of the economy firing again. And this stimulus is a positive catalyst for their stocks. And on the point of the overall stock market for China is the SSE Composite Index 1 month chart shows a really long pennant. This is really price compression over the course of years. And whenever price compresses, talk about it all the time, we eventually get to a place of expansion. We're getting to the point of the spear. And this one chart should tell you a lot about all or any of your investments in Chinese stocks like NIO and other companies. The market is getting to the point of the spear, and there's going to be a breakout move in Chinese stocks overall. And I wanted you guys to lay your eyes on that very informative chart. I'm expecting a big move soon. The question that I'm going to get a lot from you guys is, has Alibaba already bottomed? Should we begin to buy right now, or is there any chance this thing is going up or down? Well, I'm going to break down two scenarios for you. We're either going to have a slow and confusing melt up on Alibaba, which some could argue that we began from the moment that we came down to $70, dipped beneath it a couple times. We've slowly been melting back up. I'm going to talk about where that will get tested here in a minute. Or the other view is that we're not done going down. If you look at the overall trend, and we want to trade the trend, the overall trend is absolutely bearish. How do we know that? Well, there's a couple indicators that will tell us that. First, we're underneath the 200-day MA, moving average. That is the number one way of determining who's in charge of a stock. The bears are in charge of Alibaba. That gives us a big picture view over the course of the last couple years, and the story is clear. Bears are in charge of Alibaba. But then we can take a closer look at the charts with a local view by looking at the 8 EMA. That's the 8-day exponential moving average. Now the 8 and the 34 have a unique relationship to each other because they'll show a shift in momentum. But here's what I want you guys to see, and why we want to keep an eye on the trend for Alibaba, and why I feel that we can patiently buy this as we're near the bottom, perhaps, is that the stock price is currently beneath the 8 and the 34 EMA, which means that the local and long-term trend is still confirmed bearish. So don't get ahead of yourselves. Whether we have a melt up or a V-shaped recovery has yet to be determined. Now, it's going to get determined when the stock price slowly moves up to previous resistance, and if it gets rejected there, then we will begin to move back down until we get what I'm going to be excited about would be a capitulation moment. Now, personally, I think all of this is going to get resolved in the next 30 days. And I saw some unusual options activity where there were some bearish people buying hundreds of thousands of puts with the January 19th expiration. Now, the price where I think this could go to, if it intends to go lower, is 65 bucks. But what I would be looking for at the moment that that potentially touched would be a FOMO wick, a reversal candle. It's a candle with a giant long tail. That means that when it dipped in price, it got the attention of all the buyers, and they flooded in with high volume to buy up the fear of other people selling. people that got into Alibaba too early and just didn't want to hold or didn't have confidence when they saw that $70 potential price breakdown. You're like, Josh, are you predicting that? No. I'm going to give you guys the trigger of what will tell me what it's going to do. I'm going to give you guys those numbers. So this thing could actually backtest all the way back up to $87 and still be in a bearish trend. And so the solution that I have is so simple. I'm going to be buying this on the daily. Now, I wanted to point out something about the Stock Squad Patreon that I am in with Stock Up with Larry Jones, Keenan Grace, and Stockmo. Part of that Patreon Discord is a portfolio, a stock portfolio, where we have purchased certain amounts of stock and we've created a portfolio that you guys could be aware of and follow along. If you go in and look at my picks, you can see that my other stock picks are up 60 to 80%. So if you had joined the Patreon months back and just simply followed the exact same trades that I made in that portfolio, the lowest stock that you would have that would be currently up would be up 30%. And I've got one there that's up 80% in just the last 3 months. So I want you guys to click on the link and consider checking out the Patreon for yourself. But I'm also talking about this today because I'm getting ready to make a change. I think I'm going to sell my Riot position and use that money to go into Alibaba. And I'm going to give more details on that in the Patreon, but I wanted you guys to be aware of it. So far, that portfolio has been a huge profit maker. Guys, check it out for yourself. Here's another indicator that's going to let me know if we're going to have a breakout move, a melt up scenario, or whether we're going back down. And that is the bullish falling wedge pattern that Alibaba is currently in. We've not broken to the outside of it. We are remaining in this downward spiral funnel. And if we break to the outside, that'll be a signal to me that the down move is over and we're beginning an up move. It'll be very, very exciting. And if you are part of the Patreon, if you follow this page, I will come out and let you guys know. The only way that you would know when it happens, if you're not following it yourself, is to hit that subscribe button or become a member of the Patreon and follow me, because I will let everybody know when that happens. It hasn't happened yet. But falling wedges are called bullish falling wedges because they typically break to the upside. And so I am expecting this bullish move on Alibaba. And so I will be trading puts locally as we move up against areas of resistance, and I will be buying the shares long. And if I do cash out my Riot, I'm going to break that up into a series of $1,000 purchases that I will make every single day until I go through all that money. I'm going to end this video with a couple thoughts. One, Jack Ma, the owner and founder of Alibaba, has a quote that I've always liked. He says, "Never give up. Today is hard. Tomorrow will be worse. But the day after tomorrow will be sunshine." And what I take from that, and it's actually a good quote to apply to investing and trading, you're going to have some rough days. And sometimes you're not going to get it all figured out in just 2 days. You're going to have to spend more than a single day having a tough time. But you live with the goal of the sunshine and the reward that will come through effort. That's what Jack Ma is talking about. This guy's still running Alibaba, and it's one of the reasons why I like the company, because they're under good management. I would think very differently about it if he wasn't involved. But I wanted to share all that with you guys. In regards to investing, it's the same thing. We're going to keep putting in effort. If you make a mistake, and mistakes get made, you understand it's a bad day and you might make a mistake tomorrow. But if you continue to apply effort in this space towards Wall Street, you can find great profits and an amazing way of life. I'm living that life right now. And, you know, here I am in Hawaii, and I've been on a 30-day vacation, not as connected with you guys as I would like. And part of me, as I've gotten lost in the beaches, I've turned to my wife and said, man, should we just move here and I just trade and drop everything else, live a more simple life? So, you know, I'm getting lost up in the vacation, but at some point I'm going to have to board a plane, head back home, and I'll be more involved. But I just wish you guys all a Merry Christmas, and I hope that this is going to be a great year moving forward. We'll connect a few more times before the year is up. Peace and blessings to all of you. Take care. Bye-bye.